everyone. Today we will learn about a new term, that is limiting reagent. This is a new concept, that is limiting reagent. So first of all, what do you mean by the limiting reagent? A limiting reagent is defined as a substance or a chemical which is provided in minimum quantity. For example, in a chemical reaction in which carbon and oxygen combines together to form carbon dioxide. Carbon and oxygen are reactants and carbon dioxide is a product. In this balanced chemical reaction, we need 12 gram of carbon that should be reacted with 32 grams of oxygen so that 44 grams of carbon dioxide is produced. Here we define the limiting reagent is that chemical or that reagent which is provided in minimum quantity or in limited quantity. If I reduced the amount of any one reactant, either carbon or oxygen. For example, I reduce the amount of the carbon from 12 grams to 10 grams. So, in this chemical reaction, carbon becomes a limiting reagent because in this reaction we need the amount of carbon 12 grams, but the supply of the carbon is 10 gram. Here the amount of carbon is limited or in minimum quantity, therefore it is a limiting reagent. Hence, the limiting reagent is defined as the chemical or compound that is in limited quantity or in minimum quantity is known as limiting reagent. And one more quality of the limiting reagent is that during a chemical reaction, it is only the reagent which is consumed completely, or during a chemical reaction it should be consumed completely. So the another definition of the limiting reagent is a substance or a chemical that should be completely consumed during a chemical reaction is known as limiting reagent. This is all about the definition of the limiting reagents. Next, we do the numerical problems related to the limiting reagent. See the numerical that is related to the limiting reagent. and the numerical is 50 grams of nitrogen reacts with 10 grams of hydrogen to produce ammonia. Question is 50 grams of nitrogen reacts with 10 grams of hydrogen to produce ammonia, and you have to calculate first one, limiting reagent in this reaction, and second part of this question is you have to calculate the amount of ammonia produced during this chemical reaction. Question is 50 grams of nitrogen reacts with 10 grams of hydrogen to produce ammonia. Calculate the limiting reagent, or which one is limiting reagent, and second part you have to calculate the amount of the ammonia produced during this chemical reaction. So how do we solve this question? For this question, first of all we have to write the balanced chemical reaction between nitrogen, hydrogen and ammonia. In this chemical reaction, nitrogen and hydrogen are the reactants and ammonia is the product. So first of all we have to write the balanced chemical reaction between nitrogen, hydrogen and ammonia. So I write here nitrogen and hydrogen are the reactants and ammonia is the product. So next step is to balance this chemical reaction. As this chemical reaction is not balanced, so our next aim is to balance this. For this I put here 2, as the number of nitrogen atoms are 2 in the reactants, so I put here 2 so that on the product side it also become 2. By multiplying it by 2, the number of hydrogen atoms are 6, and in reactant side number of hydrogen atoms are 2, so I multiplied here by 3. Now this is a balanced chemical reaction, and in this balanced chemical reaction the mass of nitrogen is 28 and mass of hydrogen is 6 grams, and the amount of ammonia that should be produced during this chemical reaction is 2 into 14 plus 3, that is 34 grams. Means when 28 grams of nitrogen reacts with 6 grams of hydrogen, it produces 34 grams of ammonia. Now in this question, amount of nitrogen as well as amount of hydrogen are given to you. So I write here the amount of nitrogen, that is 50 grams, and the amount of hydrogen, that is 10 grams. Now first of all we have to calculate limiting reagent in this chemical reaction. How do we calculate which one is limiting reagent? See here, in this balanced chemical reaction 28 grams of nitrogen reacts with 6 grams of hydrogen. So 28 grams of nitrogen reacts with 10 grams of hydrogen, and 1 gram of nitrogen reacts with 10 by 28. In this question, the amount of nitrogen is 50 gram. So I write here 50 grams of nitrogen reacts with 10 by 28 multiplied by 50. When you solve this, it comes out to be 500 divided by 28, divide this by 4, it is 1.7 8 grams. When you solve this, it comes out to be 17.8 grams of hydrogen. Means 28 gram of nitrogen reacts with 10 gram of hydrogen, and for 50 gram of nitrogen we need 17.8 grams of hydrogen. But in this question only 10 grams of hydrogen is provided, but we need 17.8 grams of hydrogen for 50 grams of nitrogen. As the amount of hydrogen is less than that we need, so in this question hydrogen is a limiting reagent, as we need 17.8 grams of hydrogen, but the amount of hydrogen is 10 grams. So hydrogen is a limiting reagent. So in this question, hydrogen is a limiting reagent. So this is the first part in which we have to calculate which one is the limiting reagent. In this question, hydrogen is a limiting reagent. Our next aim is to find the amount of the ammonia. For ammonia, again we need this balanced chemical equation in which 28 gram of nitrogen reacts with 6 grams of hydrogen, so that the amount of ammonia is 34 grams. In this question, hydrogen is a limiting reagent, so we use hydrogen for solving the amount of the ammonia, because it is the only reagent which consumes completely. How do we find the amount of the ammonia in this reaction? For this, see here, 6 grams of hydrogen gives 34 grams of ammonia. So I write here 6 grams of hydrogen gives amount of ammonia, that is 34 grams, and 1 gram of hydrogen gives 34 by 6, and in this question 10 grams of hydrogen is provided to you. So 10 grams of hydrogen gives amount of ammonia, that is 34 by 6 into 10. When you solve this, you get 340 by 6, again 5, 56.66, or when we round off it becomes 56.7 grams. So in this question, the first part is which one is limiting reagent. So Hydrogen is a limiting reagent in this question. And second part is you have to find the amount of ammonia. The amount of ammonia is 56.7 grams. This is all about the limiting reagent. I hope this concept is clear to you. Thank you.